So first of all, we're going to start our Meow challenge over here. So we're going to click on that. And these challenges also come with a walkthrough, just in case you wanted to get some insight onto how to solve the challenge. But we're going to be walking through this challenge right now. So at the beginning over here, it says to attack the target machine, you must be on the same network. So we just connected to the network over here in the previous step. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to move on to the next step, which is called spawn machine. So spawn the target machine and the IP will show here. So we need to click on the green button over here labeled spawn machine, and that's going to spin up the virtual machine that's associated with this challenge. So it might take between 30 seconds and a minute for the machine to fully spin up. In the meantime, I'm going to grab my notes and prepare to solve the machine. Hold on, page. And it looks like our virtual machine has finished initializing with this IP address. So the convenient thing is that we can copy this IP address by just clicking on it. So we click on that, and then it says IP copied. So we can now do testing on this machine. So we go back to our terminal, and then we plug in our IP. So it's ping-c4 for 4 count, and then this IP address. So just run this command, and it looks like we're receiving packets from this machine, which means that it is up. All right, 4 packets transmitted, 2 received, 50% packet loss. That's not great, but it's up. All right, so let's use Nmap to scan this machine further. All right, so Nmap is the tool of choice for network security testers. So I'm going to run it with the following flags. So it's -VV for very verbose, which means the output is going to appear as it scans, meaning that I don't have to wait for the entire scan to finish before I get any output. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that it is running on 4 threads. So that's going to be -T4, and then I'm going to do -P- so that I can scan all the ports on this particular host. And then lastly, we're going to provide the IP address. So I'm just going to paste that in again. Okay, so when I run this command, we're going to send a bunch of scanning packets to this particular server, and we're trying to determine which networking ports on this target are open. So we're going to run the command, and immediately inside of in the output we see that we discovered an open port on 23 TCP. So 23 TCP is associated with the Telnet protocol, or the Telnet program rather. So Telnet is the precursor of secure shell SSH, and Telnet. Well, the reason that we don't use Telnet anymore is because although Telnet you could use Telnet to log into systems remotely, there was no security built into Telnet, which means that everything that was sent back and forth using Telnet was all sent in the clear, which means that if anybody was able to intercept that traffic, then they would be able to see exactly what was being communicated through it, which is bad news. All right, so I'm going to resize my window. Hold on. Okay, great. Okay, so we know that that this port is open, port 23. So we're going to do a follow-up Nmap scan, and in this Nmap scan, we use very verbose again, and then we do T4. But we're going to do port 23 because port 23 was the reportedly open port. So it's -P23, and we want to determine the version and and we want to run any default scripts on this particular port. So we're going to do -SV for version, and then -SC for scripts. And then we're going to finish off with the IP address, just like that, and then we run the command. So because we're only scanning against one port, this nmap scan should come back relatively quickly. Okay, so it says here, so port 23 is open. It says that the service is telnet, and then the version of telnet is Linux telnet D. All right, and so the next thing we want to do is we want to try connecting to telnet. So telnet has its own program that we can that is installed by default on Kali Linux, conveniently enough. So we can do telnet. So the command is telnet and then the IP address. So telnet and then the IP address over here. We want to run that. So we're now connected to telnet. We're connected to the server here, and it says the escape character is this over here. And we get this little banner over here, hack the box, and it says Meow login. Okay, great. So we can try to log in using default credentials as any number of different users. Let's try logging in as admin, and the password we're going to say maybe the password is blank. Okay, so login correct. Next we'll try using the username root. Okay, so it seems that we can log in using the root username, and it doesn't ask us for a password. So we can see over here that that we've logged in, and we see a bunch of system information over here. So from here we can do ls, and we have one file and one directory in here. So we do ls-la. Let's try that again. Okay, so we have flag.txt, and then we have the snap directory over here. So what we're after is this file right here, flag.txt. So we can read that using the cat command. So it's cat flag.txt. Run that, and this is the end of the exercise over here, because this is our goal. This flag right here. So at this point, what do we do? What do we do to solve this challenge? So the first thing we did was we ran an nmap scan, an initial nmap scan on the target, and that revealed that port 23 telnet was open. So from there, we were able to use the telnet command to access the service, and we were able to gain access to the server by using default credentials. In this case, it was root, and that gave us root access to the machine. So if we do pwd, it tells us that we're in the root directory, and if we ask who am I, then it says that we are the root user. So the root user has the highest level of access on the system. So we essentially have total control over the system. So to conclude this exercise, let's answer the questions associated with the challenge. So we can go back to the web page, and we can answer the question, task 1 here. What does the acronym VM stand for? Okay, so VM stands for virtual machine, and we can submit this as an answer. And that is correct. So the second question is, what tool do we use to interact with the operating system in order to issue commands via the command line, such as the one to start our VPN connection? It's also known as a console or shell. So what program do we use to interact with the operating system? So in this case, we used a terminal program. So the answer is terminal. And submit as the answer. And then task 3, question 3. What service do we use to form our VPN connection to the HDB labs? So if you remember, we had to connect to the HDB labs to connect to their network. We had to download a key in order to do that. And the program we used was a VPN program called OpenVPN. So that is the answer, OpenVPN. So the next question is, what tool do we use to test our connection to the target with an ICMP echo request? So we used a program to ping out to the server to make sure that it was up, and the program is called ping. Okay, so sometimes when we send our answers, or when we click on buttons in the Hackbox website, it can be a little bit unresponsive. So we'll try submitting the answer again. Okay, so that answer is correct. Question number 5. What is the name of the most common tool for finding open ports on a target? Okay, so this was the tool that we used to scan for open ports on the target, and remember that the name of the program is Nmap. So we submit this as the answer, and we'll submit the answer again. Okay, so that is correct. Next question is, what service do we identify on port 23 TCP during our scans? So if you remember, we found a service running on port 23, and that was Telnet. So we submit that as the answer. Okay, and that is the correct answer. And the next question is, what username is able to log into the target over Telnet with the blank password? So we were able to log into Telnet using a certain username, and that username was root. And the last thing we need to do for this exercise is we need to submit the root flag. So we just copied that from the terminal, but we can go back and copy it again. So we can highlight this and then copy it with Control-Shift-C, and then we go back to the web page and paste in the flag and click on Submit Flag. Okay, and then it tells us that this box has been pwned. So we're just going to say OK, and then we're going to Hey there, Hacker Frogs! Are you enjoying this workshop? Learning new concepts and skills? If so, there's a way you can support the channel, and it's totally free. Just click on the subscribe button below the video. Also, click on the like button. And if you have questions or comments on this workshop, please leave them below the video. Thanks for listening. And now, back to our scheduled programming.